the meeting will also be available. So yes, welcome everybody. Welcome to the CMC, the Community Mobility Committee. Like I said, closed captioning will be provided. So we do ask that during this meeting that you enunciate if you do talk and enunciate into your microphone. And if anyone ever needs any other accommodations to this meeting, you can just let us know. You can email me at christyrholland@gmail.com or Liz, my co-chair at kramer.liz@gmail.com. So again, happy hump day. The CMC is a place for residents and interested individuals to advocate for and learn about mobility and transportation issues in the city of St. Louis. So as we have this conversation today, please be respectful in your questions and in your conversations. We are grateful to have so many folks here from the city, and we encourage everyone participating to be respectful of their hard work and their efforts, as well as all of our varying viewpoints. If you do get the chance to speak, please avoid jargon and acronyms. If you are using technical transportation terms, we ask that you define it in the chat. And ideally, if you have a link about it, share that in the chat as well. And we ask this because not all of our members are familiar with technical terms in the transportation space, and we want to make sure everyone can participate and that this space is inclusive for learning. I do ask you to be mindful of time as well. We will be encouraging more follow-up to happen outside of the meeting. So we just want to make sure that this meeting is on time, that it's focused, and that we're on time. And again, lastly, please use the chat to share any questions and responses that you have. We do have a special guest today, and I'm sure there will be plenty of questions, so use that chat function for all the questions. With that being said, we are super lucky to have the partnership of the city staff, the mayor's team, and a number of our alders on our efforts. So I'm going to ask each of the city representatives to give a quick introduction. And hey, I'll pass it to Andrew first.
Hello, I'm Andrew Lackey, and I'm the Deputy Commissioner for the Office on the Disabled for the City of St. Louis. And I will pass it to Scott.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Scott Ogilvie, City St. Louis Planning and Urban Design Agency. Christy, I have a quick question for you. Is the Zoom link that was in the agenda the Zoom link we are using right now?
Yes.
It's the one that was in the calendar invite. That was the old one, right? I just want to make sure the one on our website is correct, and I think it is. So with that, great. That said, let's go to I think Alderwoman Velasquez is on the call.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Daniela Velasquez. I'm the Alderwoman representing the 6th Ward, or the new 6th, which is now Shaw, Tower Grove South, Compton Heights, and about a quarter of Dutchtown.
And who would you like to pass it to?
I will pass it to Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor March. I'm just a resident. So I will pass it to John Kohler, who I know is with the Board of Public Service.
Good afternoon, everybody. John Kohler, Planning and Programming Manager for the Board of Public Service. And I'll let someone else go next. I don't know who's been introduced so far.
Alderman Browning?
Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Browning. I'm the Alderman for the 9th Ward, which includes the Central West End, Forest Park Southeast, Kings Oak, and a block and a half of the Vandeventer neighborhood. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, I'm looking through all of the attendees. I think that may be it. But if not, say hello. All right, so I'll move on. Welcome. Thank you, city staff. Thank you, members of the mayor's team and all the alders who showed up. We love to have you. Next in our agenda, the minutes for our last meeting were included in the agenda email. And we will put that email in the chat. So this is a time that if anyone has any questions or concerns from that last meeting, we can talk about them now. And you could just raise your hand or unmute yourself. Yes, Jen. Oh, that's not an actual hand raise? Okay. Got it. All
Sorry, I'm
right,
looking at a map up here.
got it. So we'll move on to the next portion where we just talk about our concerns, issues, or things that we've experienced over the last month in the transportation space. We do ask that you limit your sharing to 2 minutes, but we do want to welcome any conversation you would like to have. I will go first. I would like to, I guess, take a quick moment to just recognize like what's going on in our transportation space. This past Thursday, I lost a cousin due to traffic violence or just a crash. So that's another thing that's happened in my family, another member that's been injured or taken because of the transportation system right now. So rest in peace to Big Cuz, but don't mean to be so down, but I do want to recognize my cousin in that space. So if there's anything else you all like to add, positive, negative, any concerns or questions, now is a great time to talk about it. And thank you so much in the comments. Thank you, everyone. Are there any questions or concerns or comments in the space? I hear a throat clearing.
Trustee Michael has his hand up.
Okay, hey, Michael. Hey, Michael, if you can hear us, you are free to join the conversation. Okay, so
Okay, can you guys hear me?
yes, now we can.
Very sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties. All right, so it sounds like the mic's working all right. So I did have a couple of concerns I wanted to bring up. My partner and I were bicycling behind the botanical garden. I think it's called Floral or Fauna Avenue with the existing bicycle network. Unfortunately, it's gotten to a space now where the bicycle lane is actually no longer usable due to the lane itself crumbling. So we were actually forced to ride on the street itself, going to the botanical garden and then on the opposite side of the street. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up. I know there is a plan for a Tower Grove connector where all that existing network is going to be replaced, but I wasn't sure when the update was of this, the infrastructure there getting fixed. So I did want to just bring that up.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Christy, I have something I want to bring up.
Did, Christy, would you want us to briefly respond to that comment?
Sure, you can. Let's hear from Liz first, and then we can go to the comment. Actually, the comment was for Michael, right?
Yes.
Yes, you can respond, and then we'll go to Liz. I'm sorry.
The Tower Grove Connector project is anticipated to be bid this fall, construction in the spring of '24. If there's a significant pothole or immediate defect in the pavement, I recommend that you contact the Citizen Service Bureau to file a complaint, and the Streets Department hopefully will address that in a timely manner. Thank you.
John, would you mind posting a possible link to the group to contact? Thank you.
All right, Liz, you're up next.
Thanks, Christy. I want to raise some concerns about Gravois, and since we have Jen here, and that is a MODOT controlled route, I wanted to make sure we have said this while Jen is in the room. I live about 3 blocks from Gravois. I cross it multiple times a day, and the signal timing has become even more frightening, especially on a bike or walking. The signals are so short that if you are on a bike and you are waiting several beats to make sure you don't get killed by someone driving through a red light going across Gravois, that you can't make it safely through the intersections. So, and because there's almost no observation of no right turn on red at any of the multi intersections points, is very frightening as a cyclist or as someone who's walking, or honestly someone who's driving, to get across that anywhere. So I am hopeful that there will be some future where we have a Gravois that is safe, because it runs through so many neighborhoods and it's really such a big barrier at the moment.
Liz, you mentioned that's an issue for pedestrians as well. Are there locations without a pedestrian push button that you're talking about, or the pedestrian push button still does not give enough timing?
Some of them, the pedestrian push button does not give enough time. And then also, even when the pedestrian push button does give enough time, because there's no follow through on the right turn on red. If you're a pedestrian and you're in the crosswalk and someone is making an aggressive right turn on red, there's nowhere to go. I've changed my bike route to avoid several intersections now, because it's so scary. And there have already been so many crashes.
Thanks, Liz, for mentioning that. I'll be talking a little bit about some upcoming stuff on Gravois during my presentation, but I appreciate that signals is something it's a little bit easier for us to look at in a case-by-case basis. It sounds like you're talking in general, but if there are particular cross streets you want me to focus on, let me know that too.
Absolutely. And I think it looks like Evie and Aubrey probably also have some cross streets, because I think they cross at different parts of Gravois than I do.
Should I jump in? Sorry, this is my first time speaking. I'm Evie Hemphill, resident and cyclist and pedestrian and programs director for Beatworks. But I was just thinking about this signal issue at those intersections lately. It just seems like they're so fast, even for someone like myself who knows to push really hard as soon as the cars stop running the red light. And so I had reached out to, I think, Scott Ogilvie earlier this week, hoping that maybe that would be a simpler fix than some things, but I don't know. I also just want to mention that 4 members of the Beatworks community have been harmed physically by drivers just in the past year. I also had a child hit by a driver on my street a couple weeks ago. He's okay, but I just want to mention that more than ever, it seems like things are getting worse and worse. I've never had so many people in my circles being harmed by St. Louis drivers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Evie. All right. If there's no more concerns or comments, I think this is a great segue into our special guest today. So today we will be hearing from Jen Wade over at MODOT. Lately in the CMC, we've been doing a lot of conversations around the high crash corridors. We heard from Scott Ogilvie and the rest of the city staff a couple months ago in the work that they've been doing. And we want to continue on that thing. We know a lot is happening around it, but we want to make sure you all understand that there's a lot of regional coordination that's going on to make the streets a lot safer. So that's why we brought Jen Wade in today from MODOT to tell us about the active road safety audits as well as the safety design build project. So at this moment, Jen, is yours to have.
Okay. I am putting my time down, so I try not to run over my 20 minutes. I know we have an additional 15 minutes at the end. for questions. So certainly feel free to chime in if you have them, but we can address questions at the end as well. So today, there's a lot we could talk about. Like Christy said, I thought we'd talk about the active road safety audits that MODOT's involved in right now. So first, my name is Jen Wade. I'm the area engineer in the city of St. Louis for MODOT. It means that my role is to kind of oversee projects as well as maintenance. I'm for MODOT for anything we're managing in the city. Our MODOT owns the 4 interstates in the city, and that's it. So 70, 40, what we call 64, 44, and 55. That's my map of the city interstate system. On top of that, we have a maintenance agreement with the city to manage 7 other routes. Anything that has a number or a letter associated with it, that means it's a MODOT involved route. So these are routes owned by the city, and an agreement a number of over 20 years ago put in place has MODOT helping with certain maintenance items on those routes. I have spoken here before about this, but it's been a while, so this is like my very quick summary. Those 7 routes are Riverview, Natural Bridge, Page, and all of these have 2. So Page, MLK, Manchester, Shodo, Chippewa, and Gravois. Did I miss one? Hall Street. I think that's what I missed. So we do have a lot going on, a lot more than I will be focusing on today. But some of the fun ones that we've got going on are paving projects. I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but for MODOT, when it's time to do a paving project, I have stated internally to my team, like, hey, every time we do a paving project in the city, we need to be looking at safety at the same time. That's when, for MODOT, that's when our opportunity for investment really opens up. The state of Missouri has, or not the state of Missouri, sorry, the Department of Transportation has funding allocated specifically for safety on our roadway systems. It's just a fraction of our whole maintenance budget, but the crash numbers here in the city certainly warrant safety improvements whenever we can do that. It's a really efficient time to add those safety funds on our roadway. So in 2026, we have a paving project coming up on Page Avenue. So we added some safety funds to that project during scoping. We didn't really know what safety improvements we were going to put on the corridor, but we knew it needed some safety attention. And we also knew we wanted to really involve residents in that process. So we decided to do a road safety audit. I am going to share my screen, but also the link for the website for these. Please hold. There we go. Moving this in. Okay. So our these websites are set up. We set them up for each project. And so I've got the link in the chat there. This is where you can come and see where this project is, basic timeline of what's going on. And then some of the resources that we've developed from the project are at the bottom. Christy, can I check? Are you seeing my website here? I don't see an outline of the
Yes,
screen.
I'm seeing it.
Okay, so a little map of Missouri and my cursor flying around. Great.
Yes, we see it.
Great. I use Teams usually, so Zoom's just a little different. Okay, so on a typical project, where do I want to start? Let's do this first. On Page and MLK is called Route D. So I said if it has a letter or a number associated with it, it's a MODOT route. This Page from the city border with the county all the way in until it touches MLK, and then MLK to Tucker is all MODOT's Route D. When we look at this corridor, we see a crash rate that's 6 times the statewide average for similar roadways. So for a 4-lane road or a 2-lane road on the MLK side. In a 5-year period, we had 10 fatal crashes. 4 of them involved pedestrians. We had 53 serious injury crashes. 10 of those involved pedestrians. So those are the numbers we were looking at right off the bat that said, sure, it warrants putting some money on safety. Right now, we have $2 million allocated for safety enhancements on this whole segment. It's a long segment. So we wanted to make sure there's enough to make some significant impacts here. A road safety audit has a few common components. It can be done differently, but what we are doing was early on, we took our project team, which included some folks from Office of Disabled, included some city representation, included our whole project team, which for that project included TrailNet. And I don't think Metro is in on that one, but we did a road safety audit site visit, which means our project team splits up into groups and they walk the corridor and take notes on what we're actually seeing, experiencing as we walk through the corridor. That is really helpful them to get back together afterwards to compare notes. And I have to tell you, it's really hard to do that. Even just getting the number of people, 15 to 20 people available for the better part of a day to walk the corridor and take these notes. It's really important to do. It's super helpful to do, but it is a big investment in what we might do to do a different paving project, if that makes sense. So we did that a while back on this project. And then we have a series of focus groups as well as public meetings. So typically on a road project, what the engineer would do is they would look at the existing roadway and say, what's going on here on the road now? So what are the existing conditions here? That includes looking at what the crashes are, where they are. That includes looking at how many lanes there are, and looking through our history in terms of complaints or concerns on the corridor. That's just called existing conditions. Then what an engineer would do is say, okay, what can we do to fix some of these problems? They look at each problem, they pair it with solutions for each one. Then they would go back to the map, overlay these improvements along the corridor where they think they make the most sense. And then they draw up a design. Okay, so that's what we do as engineers. Usually, a typical process for us would be to show up with that design at the end, show it to the public and say, okay, here's our preliminary drawings. This is what we think should happen on this corridor. And what we've found is that especially for projects where large changes are designed for that corridor, people felt like we had already made all the decisions what we were going to do. And to be fair, we probably were pretty resistant by that point. If somebody came and said, hey, I think that's all a terrible idea, and what you should do is probably more like this. So the road safety audit opens up every door of that process that I just explained to community involvement. So right off the bat, our first focus group and our first public meeting were about existing conditions. It can be a little bit confusing to the public when we have that meeting because there's nothing we're showing them except for what the corridor looks like and how it is performing. Once people are there and we get a chance to talk about it, they understand what's going on, especially when we start presenting, here's the crash data. This is where the crashes are. This is what we're seeing there. It was a great opportunity for us to then say, what are we missing? Because there's stuff that doesn't show up in the crash data. And there's behaviors that people are seeing that maybe aren't easy to see just by looking at data, or they haven't been complained about yet. So I haven't heard them in our call reports or something like that. So we had that as our first focus group. The second, so It says in progress here in yellow. This is our conceptual development, kind of gets kicked off. So now we actually start our engineering process as well. The second focus group meeting was saying, okay, here's what we heard from you were the issues on the corridor. And by the way, here are some things that address these issues, okay? That was what we came to a second focus group meeting with. And then we had a safety demonstration with similar information there. I was gonna scroll down here. Under this possible countermeasures is some of the information we shared at those meetings. So if you're on this website, you can kind of scroll through these pictures and there's words at the bottom that describe what we're looking at and what you might consider from each of these. If you want to see a bigger thing, you can always click on it to see it a little bit more clearly. So there's a lot of fun resources down at the bottom. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go through all of them. But I do want to talk a little bit about our safety demonstration. This was really unique on page MLK on this whole road safety audit. I don't think MODOT has done a safety demonstration before. In fact, I've been told that this one's the first in the state. So this video was taken during the safety demonstration. Again, I think Bryce, you're on with me. Bryce Monzer was essential in pulling this off. You're here on the meeting, I think.
Yes.
She's gonna wait there.
Very sweet. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah. So TrailNet's our consultant for this piece of it. Incredible turnout for this event. We set up in front of Better Family Life. And what we did was coned off one lane in each direction, demonstrated what a wide median in the middle might feel like for pedestrians, put in some bump outs, put in some features that we thought would give people an idea of what one lane in each direction might feel like on page. Usually, remember when I talked about that engineering process? Usually it's after we do preliminary and final designs, after we've put this project out for bid, the contractor's taking it up, and then they start construction. Usually that's the first time orange cones go on the road, right? Otherwise, why would you need them there? But that's when the public finally says, wait, what's going on? What's happening on my road? Of course, not everybody's following what's happening on our website. So we think just the presence of cones alone is really helpful to get people saying what's coming. So putting it here in the design process, I think is going to be really impactful. We also had booths and information and poster boards set up on the side and a lot of staff to talk to people who showed up and answer questions. And Trail Nut brought ice cream and sodas. So people were really interested in stopping by for that too. So it really turned out awesome. People around the state have been asking about it. So hopefully we'll be able to do more of these in the future. Upcoming on page is a last focus group where we'll start taking those countermeasures and putting them in locations to solve the different issues, to assist, making it better, reduce crashes in the different locations around the corridor. And then we'll bring that information back to these focus groups. That same information we presented as our preliminary design, and that's when we'll go back to the public at the preliminary design phase after we have that focus group. Our final road safety audit on the timeline here is just the report from our consultant team saying, here's the results of the road safety audit that will get implemented into that preliminary design. So active project that we're working on right now. Lots of other good resources. Like I said at the bottom, on any of these pictures, you can page through and see some of the stuff we saw on the road safety on the walk audit. We walk through and take lots of pictures of what's coming up, issues that we see, things we want to make sure to address in the design. Okay, I'm running short on time, so I'm going to keep moving. I'm hoping questions are stacking up in the chat that I can address towards the end. Okay, that is, let me stop sharing for just a second, if I can figure out how. Oh, there it is. Okay. Manchester and Shodo also has a road safety audit that's kicking off right now. So we haven't had any focus group meetings. We have scheduled our walk audit, but haven't gone on it. But that project has a shorter timeline. The paving for that is starting is scheduled for 2025. So we should see the paving work, the actual implementation of the roadway, strangely before Page. It just worked out with our process for that one. So we're hoping still to do another safety demonstration. We will have a walk audit. We will have focus groups, things like that. So for focus groups, we're looking for community leaders, alder people, business owners, advocates for the group, neighborhood association folks. We're really trying to get people who can pull together the larger groups of people from the corridor and spread their information we're sharing back out to their communities, if that makes sense. So that's really exciting. That's 2 full routes out of the 7 that MODOT manages in St. Louis. Also, we're working on a potential road diet right now for Hall Street, as well as the city and has invested some safety funds in a Riverview Drive project that hopefully we'll be bidding here in the winter. So a lot of really exciting stuff is coming up. The other project I wanted to talk about today, build project. I'm going to put it in the chat again. Sorry. Before I share my screen. Okay, so here's the website that I just put in the chat for our safety design build project. Like I said, the Department of Transportation has funds allocated for safety. It has to be spent on safety projects. The way that works is as we are scoping out all of these paving projects or bridge projects, anything we have in our asset management plan for maintenance, we can add safety funds to those as necessary. In the past, we have taken some of that money and put it into a safety design build project that we tried. And the first place we tried it was in Franklin County and St. Charles County, which is 2 out of the 5 counties in our district, because those projects had not been receiving a lot of the safety money yet. It went well. And what we basically did is said to our consultant and contractor teams, here's the amount of money you get. Whoever can save the most number of lives, in theory, that's who we're going to give the money to. So we didn't say what you could do specifically, what you were limited to. It was up to these design and construction teams to say, okay, if we put in these improvements, we can expect a crash reduction of what? We can expect a severity reduction of what? A fatality reduction of what? So then they listed out each of the improvements they wanted to put on the road, talked about how many fewer fatal crashes they were supposed to have based on those, added those up, and then they were able to deliver X number of dollars worth of work on a lot of routes around the county and hopefully see a big safety benefit. It worked well. We liked how that project went. It seemed to spend money very efficiently for us, and so we're trying it again. This is not limited to St. Louis City, but we are, if you look over here, we are one of the 3 counties. Remember, the first 2 were done before, and now they're on the last 3. Part of why I wanted to talk to you guys about this is this is not for the interstate system. This is for anything that MODOT manages. So it tends to be arterials and county, or not county, but arterial MODOT roads, rural roads in the rural areas, arterials in the city. So in the city of St. Louis, that only leaves those 7 routes that we maintain as eligible. And on top of that, we have already drawn, our area team for the city area has already drawn so much safety funds from this pot that we kind of said, we don't want you to touch Page. We're about to put $2 million on Page. And by the way, don't touch Manchester either. We have another $200 on that. And wait, we have a road diet coming here and improvements there. And when we stepped back and looked at what was left that could be invested in, really the one full route that was still on our list was Gravois. That doesn't mean Gravois is going to get selected by our consultant teams. It doesn't mean that we can expect a certain number of dollars of investment on that corridor. It really will still come to the consultant and contractor teams to put in the improvements that they can show will reduce fatalities the most. Now, we all know that Gravois has some big improvements that could be made. And so I suspect that they will have improvements they want to see on Gravois. Mostly, I want you all to know that as you see information, news about this, because we will be releasing our RFP, request for proposals. Here's our timeline. So we've already had the pre-industry meeting. We've had everybody submit their requests for their qualifications. Sorry, they've submitted their qualifications, and we've selected 2 teams moving forward. We will then share a request for proposals, and each of those 2 teams will start designing what they think will be the best use for those funds. So you should be reading about this project in the news, and it does cover Jefferson County, St. Louis City, and St. Louis County. In addition to the MODOT money that's put on it, St. Louis County decided to invest additionally. So this project will also be addressing a few county roads, not just MODOT roads in the county. It may feel like the other 2 counties are getting more things addressed in those areas, but I hope you guys at least will know that what's really happening is we've done a good job of drawing down safety funds for use in this area. I know a lot of those projects are still in the works, but they are coming. And I'll be keeping my eye open to see what folks are willing to, what the different teams are interested in doing on Gravois. It's a very different delivery process, and I'm be working closely with folks at the city to make sure that the design teams have as much flexibility as they can to install improvements on Gravois. I think there's so much I could talk about, but I think that's good enough for now. And we've got a few more minutes open for questions. I will stop sharing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
We do have quite a few questions. If you have more questions, everyone, just place them in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves. I'm going to go through some questions first. One of our members asked, what is defined as safety? Is it primarily vehicles? Does it include pedestrian and bikers? And would MODOT agree to appearing at a hearing with the Board of Aldermen to share info? So loaded question. I could take it back.
Yes. Yes. Around the state, I'm the person that talks the most about bikes and pedestrians because they exist in the city. It is the easiest, most, like, I think a lot of other county representatives for MODOT have a hard time saying, hey, we need to design this county road or this rural road for bikes or pedestrians. They have a hard time advocating for that. I've stopped asking the question, are there pedestrians here? Because yes, the answer is yes. And if there's no pedestrians there in the city, it's probably because there's a problem with the pedestrian facilities. So absolutely, anytime we look at crashes in the city, we look at vehicular crashes. But then just like in the page data that I showed you, we talked about how many crashes there were in total and how many included bikes and peds. Now on page, there weren't bike fatalities, so that number didn't show up, but they were pedestrian involved. So we have to look at those separately all the time. So yes. And then what was this other question was about Board of Aldermen meeting. We can always come to that kind of event. It's really important that we make sure communication stays open between our entities. And that would be me that would come. So feel free to reach out.
And we'll put her contact in the chat as well. What have you learned from this first safety audit that will continue to inform MODOT's work or make future safety audits easier to do or more effective?
Honestly, it took us a little bit of time to figure out really the topic for each of these focus groups. So that now, and really understanding that there was engineering work for us that had to wait until the focus groups. So we like to just start the process, right? Like we are engineers, we know how to do this, find the existing conditions, move on, blah, 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 blah. But so there was a lot of putting the brakes on people through this process. And so now I think I'm in the process of developing sort of a bubble chart of like, first we ask the public this question, then we do these steps of engineering, then we present that to the public, then we do this steps of engineering, then we present that to the public. So it will really be a back and forth conversation as we do these audits. Also, we really had not done that safety demonstration before. It was a fairly big investment in terms of dollars. And so we want to inform other teams as to when that investment is completely warranted and when you might draw it back or do it differently. So we're just looking for, I think, additional efficiency there. But in terms of, we had tons of media exposure that day as well. So I think it was something people really ended up getting a lot of information from.
Okay, the next couple of questions are concerning intersections. Will Shoto potentially continue the use of protected intersections now being piloted at Jefferson? Those are looking promising as they're going in, and I love to see more.
Protected intersections at Jefferson. What does that mean? The bump outs that are coming?
Yeah, that's part of the Jefferson Bridge work for the bikeway that's going on at Jefferson.
Oh, the protected bike lane.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is still a question that we have. We do not have an answer to that. So like Scott said, the Jefferson work at Shoto is a city project with a protected cycle track. That's not a MODOT project yet. Not yet. It is not a MODOT project, period. There are really important bike lanes on Shoto and Manchester. And looking at those, I think will be a big deal on the Manchester Shoto RSA. MODOT has not done protected bike paths before, especially on the roadway surface. So there's a bit of a open question there. In general, we don't maintain bike paths currently. We do have bike paths on our system, and we have the other entities that maintain those. There tends to be a really high level of service needed on those routes. We don't plow bike paths. We don't clear our sidewalks even at this point. You know, those are maintenance items that are really arduous, and we have a hard time keeping up with the maintenance on our system as it is. So we really prioritize the safety items there. It's a really good question. I'm curious as to how this RSA is going to move forward, if we'll see any changes from my team, from MODOT, in terms of our ability to protect cyclists that way. There's a couple of options we have. So outstanding question, but a good one.
Quick question. Can you define the acronym RSA?
Road Safety Audit.
Perfect.
And that's that process of keeping the whole safety design open to the public and inviting them in each of those stages.
Great. Is length between safety crossings one of the conditions considered? And this person said, when I did research for Strong Towns 5 years ago, many of the pedestrian crashes were occurring on strips with no crossings, where people are forced to try to cross for a bus or walk an unrealistic mile round trip out of their way.
Yes, it absolutely is. When we see, I think right now, one of the big questions is when you have a long distance from signal to signal, you know, the tendency, and you see this on page actually right now, is we have, before we've done this project, we had our traffic engineer a few years ago was trying to do something to improve safety there. And he put in rectangular rapid flashing beacons and a crosswalk in a mid-block setting to do exactly that, because it was just too far from signal to signal before people had an opportunity to cross again. So he tried to put some notification to the drivers that somebody might be crossing here and put in a crosswalk. What we found is those aren't by itself as a painted crosswalk and two notification signs with flashing lights. It still isn't enough. People aren't finding enough value in that installation to move towards it, to push the button and wait. And then really there's not much waiting, to push the button and let the things flash. And then there's not a lot of faith that people are going to stop for a flashing yellow light. So there are still installations that ostensibly improve safety, but still aren't enough. So we're really trying to look at reality too. I can put in mid-block crossings, but if that button, we actually have records on if those buttons are getting pushed. If people aren't pushing that button, or if everybody we talk to says, oh yeah, people don't stop for that. And that was certainly our experience as well. When we walked the corridor and pushed the buttons, standing there ready to walk, push the button and watching nobody stop. That's important information too. So yeah, when those crossings get long, it's something we try to address. Ooh, you're muted, Chris.
Yep. That's a great segue into the next question around, how can we as a public get involved with the safety audits? And how can we make complaints or recommendations for what's going on MODOT on arterials?
Great question. So 2 easy ways to make complaints to the system. MODOT has a phone number and it's answered by a human 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You should put it in your phones under the favorites and call us all the time. I do this too. It is the best way to tell our system when you see it, like Liz, you're concerned about a particular traffic signal, like, hey, this signal, the pedestrian timing is too short. It gets put in our system as a call report and we are required, and those are tracked and we are required to respond to those. If you put your contact information in, you might get a call from the traffic engineer who's addressing your concern. That's a great, it's the same number you call for potholes. What was the other thing I was going to say? Stuff in the roadway. You know, when you're driving on the highway and there's like a couch in one of the lanes and you swerve around, you're like, oh my God, thank God I didn't die. Call us, have your passenger call us and tell us there's something in the 3rd lane. And they'll say, great, where are you? And you tell them where you are, and then they will get emergency services there as soon as they can to get that out of the lane. So it's the same number I call. I literally coming back from Illinois a couple weeks ago and made 2 phone calls on my way across from the river to my house to MODOT to say, hey, there's something in the lane here and there's an issue over here. So I recommend that phone number is 888-ASK-MODOT. Technically, it's 1 letter longer than it needs to be, but it's up.
Got it.
The other one, yeah, 888-ASK-MODOT. And then the other one is at the bottom of our website, which is modot.org.
Got it. So we have a little time for one more question. We do have a lot more questions in the chat, so I will send them over to you. Everyone, your questions will be answered by Jen. We'll get those answers to you as soon as possible. But last, we do have a lot of concerns and frustrations with the timing of how these projects get done. And we just want to make sure that safety really is key. We're losing a lot of people due to the conditions of the road. So what informs your timing? How do you all set your timing process for getting projects done? And what's a realistic expectation for when projects can get done?
With very few exceptions, MODOT tries to invest on the regular schedule of paving projects that we have. MODOT's system for paving is different than how the city schedules that. Our whole system right now is on an asset management plan. Basically, that means that we look at all the roads that we have. We'll look at an interstate and say, okay, once we pave this interstate lane, we can expect it to last for about 10 years. So that's true for all of the interstates around the state. So we need to afford 1/10 of our whole system every year. So we allocate that much money to paving in a given year. And we have itemized every segment of our system into this pattern, and we evaluate the roadway as they're coming due. So we have a regular system of revisiting roads for paving treatments. And when they're due, you'll see them come on the STIP, our 5-year plan for projects. So it just lines out what MODOT's planning to do the next 5 years. And it really is me and our team, there are safety lists that our central office sends us where we can see crash hotspots and things like that. It's up to our team to review that information when it's time to scope those projects and say, okay, is this just a regular paving? We are being asked to work very efficiently with the funds given to us by the residents of the state of Missouri who, are our bosses. And so we really try to do the most, stretch every dollar as much as we can. When it comes to claiming safety dollars to put on the road, that's the process it goes through. It's time for our page to get paved. Okay, page is a real crash problem. We need to pull in some safety dollars. And what can we do on this road? So I can
Christie?
also send in a link for our STIP document so you guys can look ahead of the future and see what else is coming around the district, not just the city. Go
Awesome.
ahead, John.
Thank you. Go ahead, John.
Regarding the city of St. Louis and major federally funded projects, it's very important to note that the funding that we pursue and are awarded are governed, and the timing associated with that funding is governed by the availability of the funding pots established by East West Gateway, who manages the whole federal funding process. So they will tell the applicants when funding's available for design, right-of-way, and construction. And there's usually a 4-year gap between when we apply for the design funding to when construction funding is available. So that more than often dictates the schedules. And just a general comment on historical implementation of federal funded project. It takes on average 5 to 6 years between when the application is submitted and when the project is built. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you. That was key information. I understand a lot of times we really want to get this work done because one death is too much, and again, constraints that we have to work under. So thank you so much, Jen, for joining the conversation, for updating us on what's going on and helping us to make sense and wrap our minds around how the city, how MODOT and the regional government are all working together to improve St. Louis, the safety of St. Louis. I do see that there's a lot of questions and comments in the chat. We are not ignoring them, but for the sake of time, we will move on to our subcommittee updates. Subcommittee, this is your time to report on any updates.
I'll jump in. I'm not sure if Rachel is on the call, but hi, everyone. My name is Dawn Walter. For those who don't know me, I am the chair of the engagement subcommittee. I have a few updates. The next meeting of the engagement subcommittee on September 19th is going to be a special one because we have invited members of the Board of Aldermen, the NIS team, and CSB to join us to learn about the CMC and have a discussion about how we can improve communication and collaboration between us and those three groups. We will be presenting a short PowerPoint at the beginning and then leaving most of the meeting up for discussion. So that has been created and subcommittee members are currently perfecting it. And then we have Parking Day coming up on September 15th. There's a couple of things regarding that. For people who don't know what Parking Day is, the CMC has a great little page. Also on that page that describes the Parking Day, there is a link that if you're interested or your organization is interested in doing a Parking Day spot, you can submit an application with this city treasurer's office. And then finally, for the CMC spot, we will be in front of Blueprint Coffee on Delmar. We are looking for volunteers. So if you're available and want to come hang out with not just the CMC, but also ASLA, the Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts, and the East Loop CID, we are all partnering together on that spot. And like I said, just looking for volunteers to be there, talk to people about what Parking Day is, talk to people about what the CMC is. Finally, for that day, I am also looking for someone who's willing to design a flyer for the CMC. I have some design skills, but if you have a lot of design skills, please reach out to me. I am going to put my email in the chat, and it would just be great to have a flyer about who the CMC is to pass out to people. And then finally, just after those exciting things in September, upcoming projects for the engagement subcommittee, we will be putting together policies, a communication / recruitment plan to get people under 18 involved with the CMC. A couple of people have brought that up before. We just want to be very thoughtful about that since it will involve minors. And then at the end of the year, we have our very first membership renewal process coming through because the CMC is officially reaching 4 years old. So that's very exciting, but that will affect a couple of our voting members. We will be in communication with you, and so you know exactly what's going to happen before the end of the year hits. That is it for me, and Kate, unless anyone has any questions.
Dawn, you are so awesome. Thank you so much. I don't believe Rachel is here for our other committee, but we did provide our information if you would like to get involved with the Safe Streets Committee. As we wrap up this meeting, we do encourage you to participate in the Google group, the CMC Google group, and to improve communications between the members of special events and transportation news. We have changed the settings of the CMC's Google group, so now anyone can post. The engagement subcommittee, they did devise a few guidelines to ensure that all posts are related to the CMC, so we don't want to spam everybody. So please review them before posting the first time, and we have posted the links in the chat. The next CMC meeting will be September 27th, so mark your calendars at 1 p.m. You can check the city website for the Zoom link. We are having some challenges with Zoom, so please bear with us. Whatever link is on the city website and that goes out in the email is the official Zoom link, all right? Lastly, TAP public comments are due tomorrow. So TAP is the Transportation Alternatives Program. There are 3 projects in the city that are included in the TAP application or the TAP program. So we want you to go ahead and provide your public opinion, provide your input, what needs to change, what's working, what's not. And yeah, you have until 5 p.m. tomorrow to do that. Almost lastly, the RAM settlement engagement has begun. I'm not sure if anyone has heard about it yet, but St. Louis did receive the funds for the RAM settlement, and they're now asking, what should we do with this money? We already know we want to do some safety improvements, and we have a lot of infrastructure improvements. Let them know exactly what you want to be improved, and that link is dropped in the chat as well. Lastly, there's a rally to be held by Advocates for Paratransit on September 7th at 5:30 p.m. in Brentwood. We will forward this email after the meeting, and there will be a flyer in the chat. So check that out. Get involved, everyone. We are doing this together. It takes a community to make these changes happen. So let's work together, find an opportunity for you to get involved, and let's go. If there are no comments left, Liz, is there anything you would like to add, co-chair? All right, well, we did it. Thank you all so much for your time. Again, thank you so much, Jen, for sharing this update. Thank you so much, John, for tying it all in together with us. And let's make St. Louis safe again, everyone. Thanks so much. See you at the next meeting.
Thank you so much. Take care.